And welcome back to the Factor Uncensored. Mushrooms are a hot sensation for foodies and health gurus. I put them in my crawfish just yesterday. However, some can be deadly if not cooked properly, according to some. Now, this year, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention published their investigation report following 2 deadly incidents coming from the same restaurant in Montana. According to the CDC investigators, the victims ate morel mushrooms that weren't cooked at a sushi restaurant when they were served. Dr. Danish Ali breaks down everything we need to know about consuming the shrooms. Dr. Ali, it's been some time since 64-year-old Donna Ventura of Montana died, and many people have pointed the finger at mushrooms, raw mushrooms that she had at a sushi restaurant. Several other people, according to published reports, also became ill, and a second person died. When we talk about mushrooms and them being raw, how could that kill someone?
Yeah, Isaiah. So these are toxins and fungi that are growing. And so these mushrooms, there's different types of them. And the specific type, the morel mushroom, is actually kind of rare and it's kind of hard to come by. And so there are foodies that really enjoy that specific type of mushroom. And what happened is that in this sushi restaurant, they provided this mushroom pretty raw, or very little bit of it was cooked. And so what happens, because this is a fungi, it irritates and causes a lot of issues to your stomach, to your gastrointestinal tract, as well as to your liver and kidney. Those toxins in those mushrooms, if it is not cooked properly, can damage the lining of the GI tract and also the cells in the liver and kidneys, and those can go into failure and stop working. And if you have other medical conditions, or you're sick, you've got blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, all those other things we talk about, Isaiah, it puts you at a very high risk, because your body may not be able to fight those toxins, may not be able to respond accordingly when it's dealing with these sorts of fungi. And so that's why, Isaiah, the message is very clear to make sure first, if you're consuming these sorts of mushrooms in a restaurant, to make sure to ask them, are these properly cooked? Are these properly cleaned? And if not, you may want to think twice, especially if you have other medical conditions.
And are we talking about just this specific type of mushroom, the morel, or other mushrooms could make you sick as well, as you mentioned?
Generally, mushrooms in general, you want to avoid consuming them raw. You want to try to cook them, make sure some of those toxins are burned and cooked, and they're released. The issue becomes consuming these mushrooms raw. We know that some of the other types of mushrooms, and the common ones that we get from the stores, may not be as dangerous. But there are specific ones that are found in the wild or brought in from different parts of the country. Those, when consumed raw, lots of times will give you GI issues, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, really affect that stomach tract because of the toxins it has. And if you're not otherwise healthy, or you have other medical comorbidities, it may lead you to liver and kidney failure, just like we saw with this unfortunate situation with this lady who passed away, leaving really sad messages to her family members. And unfortunately, this is one of those conditions, Isaiah, that take prolonged period of time to actually die from it. So she was intubated, she was on dialysis for a long period of time, she was getting oxygen through her ventilator tract. And so there was lots of things that were happening to her to try to keep her alive, but it's a very slow death for some folks, and that's kind of what we saw in this patient.
And of course, it's got to be tough on the family. Now, when they did a report on this, they indicated like only 150 people have reported ever being sick from this particular mushroom. Is there such a thing as a bad batch?
Isaiah, this is a fungus, and we know that a lot of funguses can irritate your stomach, especially if they're not cooked properly. And so I do believe that there's probably even more cases of this. That's number one. Number two, this restaurant was known for these kind of mushrooms. So what leads me to believe it's hard to come by, and there's not lots of these mushrooms readily available. There were some reports that there's like $50 to $60 a pound for these sorts of mushrooms. And so I think that they're difficult to come by, but I do believe that it's important, especially if you're getting them at a restaurant or grocery store, make sure that these are cooked properly and thoroughly and cleaned as well.